Hello, welcome back tuning into today's video. Going to have a look at the weather next week, 10 days. In today's video, then I'll have a look at CFS-V2 for next month. That takes us into, quite well into May, actually. So, just starting off with the current situation, though, because we've got a lot of heavy showers across the country today. This is the latest radar picture from the Weather Outlook. There's some really bright colours in there. These are giving a mix of rain, hail, sleet, snow, you know it, it's all going on. Today, if we have a look at let's have a look at the precipitation type first of all. This doesn't always show when it's snowing, and it's not showing any snow at the moment. But I tell you, but a lot of those showers up across the north and the northeast are giving snow. Let's have a look at the lightning detector. You'll see that we have got some lightning flashes going on there across the northeastern parts of England and across Ireland at the moment. Expect more flashes of lightning to be appearing here during the course of this afternoon. Rumbles of thunder mixed in as well. Let's have a look at the dew point. That's the dew. Those are the dew points today. Overlay the precipitation. And we can see that, let's just get rid of that and that and that and do that, and that should show the dew points. There we are. And we can see that, yes, the dew points are generally close to freezing, below freezing across the parts of England and Wales today, indicating, but it is a usually cold air mass that we've got with us today. And, of course, as these showers come through, where we've got most of the showers across the north and the northeast, the dew points are a little bit higher, interestingly, where it's drier down in the south, the dew points are at their lowest. So, as the precipitation comes through, the dew point does lift up. And that's the reason we've got this wintry mix going on. And it's very indicative of what you tend to get at this time of the year. You do tend to find at this time of the year that you get a mix of conditions. So you can get a bit of hail, you can get a bit of sleet. Sometimes it might turn to sort of snow or soft hail type condition. Also, you can get a lot of heavy rain as well. And it can all happen in a very short space of time also. And the temperature can go up and down in a short space of time as well. You can easily drop the temperature by 5 or 6 degrees in 10 minutes with these sort of April days. And then see a recovery within quite a short space of time for temperature again. So very interesting days where I'm sure there'll be a lot of quite bold and dramatic pictures for people to take today. So if you do manage to get a picture of hail, heavy rain, snow, sleet, or anything else, do email those weather pics to gazservice@gmail.com. We're always happy to feature the pictures in the video. Very interesting day's weather today. So looking further ahead, these are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles the next couple of weeks. Dealing with temperatures first of all, got precipitation down here, we'll look at that later on. So dealing with temperatures first of all, these are the upper air temperatures. The red line here, thick red line, is the 30-year upper air temperature average, and it is cold today, genuinely cold air mass across the country. Very gradually in the second half of the week and into the weekend, those temperatures will slowly but surely start to stage a recovery. As we go through the first week of May, which is this period just here, look at this, we're going above average with the temperatures, going warmer than average in the first week of May. So it looks like it's going to be turning significantly warmer, particularly compared to where we are right now next week. For precipitation, well, this cold weather is associated with quite a lot of showery conditions. And then as things start to turn milder over the weekend and into the start of next week, that also has been associated with quite a bit of rain. After that, it looks like we're drying out for a time, although not completely dry. Even though high pressure looks like it's building in through that first week of May, it's not suggested to be completely dry through that period. So a little bit more unsettled, I would suggest, compared to what we've had over the past few weeks. But the main story is that it's starting cold, slow recovery in the temperatures, and see it is a gradual recovery here, so that by the time you get through around this time next week, we should be turning increasingly warmer. These are the temperature anomalies for the next week. Still looking colder than average, not just for the UK, but for many parts of Europe as well. Beginning to warm up down in the southeast of Europe. I would expect these to trend increasingly warm over the next few days. Precipitation anomalies from the 25th of April to the 3rd of May, looking a little bit more unsettled compared to what we've had recently. So it's average to slightly above average rainfall for the UK. Many parts of Europe actually also are coming out average to slightly above average with the precipitation. The driest conditions look like they're down in the far southeast of Europe, where it is also warming up. In America, it's quite mild over on the eastern side of America with these temperature anomalies from the 25th of April to the 3rd of May. So the eastern seaboard looking quite warm, but many parts of America actually looking really quite cold. So from the Midwest out to those western states, does look really cold indeed in the week ahead. For precipitation, it's drier than average, significantly so for the southwestern states. Otherwise, looks quite unsettled with precipitation generally above average. So cool and wet scene for much of America in the coming week. Coming back closer to home, this is the GFS forecast chart for Saturday. We've got high pressure up over Scandinavia. We've got low pressure out to the west, bringing the air up from the south, but don't be expecting a heat wave. I think it'll still be quite chilly, even as we're starting the weekend. Now we go through to Sunday, and this area of low pressure down to the southwest. That could be bringing cloud and rain, some quite strong winds too, in towards the southwest. The north and the northeast could stay mostly dry. These unsettled conditions look like they're mostly going to impact England and Wales now over the bank holiday weekend. Still chopping and changing this bank holiday weekend. It seems like weather always knows when it's a long weekend, a bank holiday weekend, because it always gets more uncertain. So yes, bank holiday Monday now forecast and looking quite unsettled and wet for England and Wales. Probably Scotland, eastern parts of England, particularly northeast England, could be mostly dry. So maybe somewhere like Scarborough, possibly Yarmouth or Skegness, could be okay on bank holiday Monday, but further south and southwest it could be quite wet. But I have to emphasise this is still chopping and changing at the moment for this May Day bank holiday weekend. Now as we go through next week, we find high pressure increasingly taking over. So this is how things are looking by Wednesday the 3rd of May. High pressure is in over Scandinavia. It's sending a ridge down across the UK. The winds are coming in from the east or northeast. Yesterday there was the suggestion but it might turn really very warm through this first week of May. I think we're going to perhaps limit that a little bit now. We're not bringing up such a southerly influence with this ridge of high pressure. It probably will still turn milder through the course of next week, but there could be a lot of cloud associated with these easterly winds, so maybe not terribly inspiring conditions actually. Through to the second half of next week, and high pressure is really dominating. Look at that, high pressure stretch from Greenland to Scandinavia. If we'd had that in January, we really would have opened the floodgates to bitterly cold easterly winds. It always happens that as we get through into the spring, we set up the easterly winds. It's the weakest time of the year for the Atlantic, really, April, May, early June. So this is always a time of year when we get easterly winds, and we've got a classic easterly, spring easterly there for Friday the 5th of May. Again, not overly warm. If you follow the isobars back, the air is coming from somewhere like the Baltic and Western Russia. So, I mean, we're not talking about snow. It won't be cold enough for bad. You can't really get snow on easterly winds in May. But I wouldn't expect a heat wave either. I think it'll probably be quite cool and maybe quite cloudy with those east winds, even if the upper air temperatures are relatively mild. And as we go through beyond that, high pressure remains dominant. It ends up retrogressing towards Greenland, so the winds are coming in from the north or northeast there as we end the first week of May. That could be quite chilly, but still the main thing is that with that you've got a lot of dry weather going on. This is the ECWF, so again, into the weekend, we've got to watch out for low pressure out to the southwest, being blocked by high pressure up to the northeast, but it's close enough, particularly for England and Wales, and also Ireland, to be producing some quite unsettled conditions. Scotland, northeast England might get the best of the driest weather this weekend. It's still ever-changing. Into next week, again, there's a high pressure taking over the pattern. It's a long way north again, though, this high pressure, so the winds are coming in from an east-northeasterly type direction. Won't probably be overly warm. Into the second half of next week, again, we keep those winds going from the east, very high pressure dominated. That would be a classic chart there if it was winter, with a 1,040 millibar area of high pressure anchored over Iceland and southern Greenland. Follow the ice bars back and see where the air is originating from. So it's sort of east-northeasterly, and obviously that is not going to be tremendously warm. If you have a look at the upper air temperatures, I mean, they have lifted up compared to where they are now, so it is a milder air mass, but also have to keep in mind that we're probably dragging in quite a lot of cloud from the east-northeast. A very interesting week's weather next week, actually. Going to be quite difficult to pinpoint exactly what the conditions will be like with this area of high pressure. Finally, just having a look at the CFS V2 for the next week. So this is taking us from the 25th of April through to the 1st of May. We've got a deep trough to our east and northeast, bit of a ridge out to the northwest, so the winds are coming in something a bit like that, and a good representation really of what's going on at the moment. Starting off cold, gradual recovery in temperature beginning to take place. Excuse me, week 2, which is the 2nd through to the 8th of May, shows above average heights to our northeast, below average heights down to the southwest. We're bringing the winds in something like that. So you see the difference that that's probably quite warm, that kind of scenario, because the air is more from a east-southeasterly direction as opposed to what the ECMWF and GFS are more inclined to do today, which is to bring the air more in from the east-northeast. It's a subtle difference. It's quite an important difference, because it either means that with CFS scenario, we're likely to be dragging the air up somewhere from the south, maybe from somewhere like Switzerland, or maybe even further south into Corsica, Sardinia, whereas with the GFS and ECMWF today, we're probably bringing the air in somewhere from around the Baltic Sea. So it's an important difference, quite subtle, but it's important to the overall feel of the weather. Week 3, which is the 9th through to the 15th of May, again above average height centred to our north, and this one is actually bringing the air more east-northeasterly, rather like that. So that's a little bit cooler, I would have thought, but very dry conditions. That's the main thing perhaps to be taken from this dry spell continues into May. And then week 4, which is the 16th through 22nd of May, above average heights out to our northwest, below average to the south, and also over Scandinavia. We're probably doing something a bit like that with the flow, rather complicated, but watch out for this trough just here, this area of low pressure, to be starting to undercut the ridge, doing something a bit like that. It's always a problem if you've got a ridge to the northwest, particularly in the summer months. You tend to undercut those ridges with low pressure from the Atlantic, and it can actually turn into quite a wet pattern. I wouldn't go that far and say that's what the CFS is showing, a wet pattern, but just the hints perhaps there with the trough of low pressure down to the southwest and also over Scandinavia with the ridge out to the northwest of the British Isles, just hints that we might be undercutting the ridge a little bit there with low pressure. Coming back to the nearer time frame, so we've got cold weather now. That's got a few more days to run. It'll gradually start to turn milder at the end of the week and into the bank holiday weekend. Still up the grabs this bank holiday weekend. Could be unsettled in the southwest, but the northeast actually could get the best of it. So still never changing the situation. Early next week, we're watching high pressure developing through the course of next week. The exact position of that high pressure is going to be critical. If it brings the air up from the east-southeast, could get quite warm. If it brings the air down from the east-northeast, then it's likely to be fairly cloudy, and particularly for eastern areas, maybe quite chilly. So watch this space on next week's weather. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.